They were placed in an isolated camp in the north where they cannot grow food and have no water. Each rainy season, leaving the camp requires crossing deadly, fast-flowing and crocodile-infested waters.
Mijaly na tany napetraka aroa ato, napetraka amin'ny tany tsisy hany, napetraka amin'ny tany tsy mety amboliagna, le tany vakivaky, tany pakopako.
Damisoa has been advocating for the residents, but his pleas have gone unanswered, and aid is almost exclusively concentrated in drought-stricken southern Madagascar.
Isakany zanakanay marefy ato amin'ny tany gouverneur ato, io 420 tsaiky, de mipetraka, tsisy hanigny hoanigny, tsy mianatra, tsisy lamba hitafy.
Join us in demanding that the government addresses the hunger, homelessness, and poor healthcare faced by Damisoa and other people displaced by drought across Madagascar.
Raha fa misy ny tsy sakafo de raha fa tsy fampijery zahay de maty.
La última vez que yo conversé con Juan López fue una semana antes de su muerte. Recuerdo que tuvimos una reunión en el comité. Él reflejaba mucha preocupación. Hay rumores, dice, que a uno de nosotros nos van a ejecutar. De todo se nos prendió y dijimos nosotros, pues va a ser a usted. Él iba saliendo de la iglesia cuando ya lo estaban esperando. O sea, sabemos que este fue un asesinato planificado y que solo esperaban el momento adecuado. Juan López fue uno de los compañeros que anduvo concientizando a las poblaciones que se nos venía un problema muy grande, como lo era este megaproyecto, inversión en los pinares, inversiones Ecotec.
Afuera la minería. El Estado de Honduras la ha dejado hasta ahora trabajar sin problemas.
Su postura se mantuvo siempre a favor de las comunidades. La credibilidad que Juan tenía en la lucha era muy grande, ya estaba tocando intereses grandes. Creo que a tocar esos intereses lo llevó a su muerte. Esperamos justicia. Estamos comprometidos en esa exigencia de dar con el quien ordenó para que ejecutaran su muerte.
Somos las guerreras por la Amazonía y junto a la Unión de Afectados por Texaco y el colectivo Eliminen los Mecheros y Enciendan la Vida y nuestras comunidades, luchamos contra los mecheros que contaminan nuestra Amazonía ecuatoriana y amenazan nuestra vida, tu vida y el planeta.
Los mecheros contribuyen enormemente a la crisis climática y los gases que emiten pueden aumentar el riesgo del cáncer y otras enfermedades.
Violan nuestros derechos a la salud, a un ambiente limpio, saludable y sostenible.
En 2021 llevamos al Estado de Ecuador ante los tribunales por permitir que los mecheros ardieran durante tantos años y violar nuestros derechos. Y ganamos.
La sentencia en la Corte decidió que Ecuador debe eliminar los mecheros de la Amazonía ecuatoriana y proporcionar reparaciones a las comunidades afectadas.
Pero 4 años más tarde, los monstruos de fuego siguen ardiendo.
Exigimos que el Estado de Ecuador cumpla con la sentencia.
Cada mechero eliminado es una victoria para la Amazonía y para el planeta.
Esta lucha es colectiva.
Únete a nosotras para exigir un futuro libre de contaminación y lleno de vida.
Pide a Ecuador que elimine los mecheros y que proteja a las y a los defensores del clima.
Call to the Cambodian government to release our 5 friends immediately without any condition. Mother Nature Cambodia is a youth-led movement fighting to protect the environmental and defend our rights. Cambodia is like the beautiful country with the rich culture, but sadly under the repressive regime. Because of my activism, the court sentenced me to 8 years in prison. Now I am in exile. 5 of my friends are now in prison. They got the same charge as me, 6 to 8 years in prison. The situation in the prison right now is really terrible. Despite of restriction, I still continue to use my voice and continue my activism. I believe Cambodian people deserve a better life. To the local and also international friends, please stand up with us and pressure the government to release our friends.
August 5th, 2024. Cambodia broke ground on an ambitious new project of national prestige.
និងលក្ខណៈពិសេសនៃគម្រោងព្រែកជីកពូណនដែលជាគម្រោងប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រដើម្បីរីកចម្រើនកសាងហេដ្ឋារចនាសម្ព័ន្ធផ្លូវទឹកមួយនេះដើម្បីជំរុញសេដ្ឋកិច្ចលើកកម្ពស់កិត្យានុភាពឯករាជ្យជាតិនិងអធិបតេយ្យភាពកម្ពុជា
Construction has begun on the 180-kilometer Funan Techo Canal. Starting at the Mekong River, it will travel through 4 provinces, connecting the capital city to the sea. The canal will accommodate 3,000-ton vessels along its entire length. It's a major undertaking. Construction will take 5 years and is expected to cost $1.7 billion.
បើសិនជាមានការបញ្ចប់ការសាងសង់ព្រែកជីក Funan Techo នេះហើយគឺការដឹកជញ្ជូនអាចនឹងមានការរលូនជាងមុនបាទ
For international companies, the project represents a business opportunity.
យើងបានទទួលខ្លះពីចិន បាទហើយឯកជនដែលគាត់ចុះតាក់ទងមកហ្នឹងមានខ្លះមកពីសង្កាត់បរិយដូចគ្នាបាទជាលក្ខណៈឯកជន
However, the project will force around 1.6 million people to leave their land and their homes.
ពាក់ប៉ុនដិតដាយហើយអត់ទាន់មានប្រយោលអីទេប៉ុន្តែការជឿព្រែកហើយនឹងការបងព្រែកប៉ុន្តែនិយាយទៅអានោះច្រើនអានឹងយល់តាមគោលការណ៍របស់រដ្ឋាភិបាលឲ្យគាត់ប្រកាសមើលគេតម្រូវឲ្យយើងរុំរើយើងមិនដឹងធ្វើម៉េចបើមើលគេត្រូវការចំផ្ទះយើងហើយ
A major project in a country with a growing economy. How will this canal impact the people of Cambodia? For 20 years, Cambodia's economy has grown by an average of over 7% annually. The World Bank highlights tourism and exports such as clothing as major contributors. China maintains a strong influence. Since 2012, when President Xi Jinping came into power, the country has provided more and more developmental aid, including support for the new canal. Billboards have sprung up in settlements along the construction route. They show the project's instigators, present and former Prime Ministers Hun Manet and Hun Sen.
បែកនិរដីរបស់ប្រទេសប៉ុន្តែទៅលើពីនេះទំនិញរបស់កម្ពុជាដែលមកពីគ្រប់កន្លែងអាចចូលទៅតាមច្រកទឹកនេះឡានមួយគ្រឿងដឹកបានមួយកុងតឺន័រទេណាតែកប៉ាល់ឬសាឡាងដែលដឹកតាមផ្លូវនេះមកសាឡង់អាចច្រើនកុងតឺន័រដូច្នេះកាត់បន្ថយការចំណាយលើការដឹកជញ្ជូនដែលធ្វើឲ្យកម្ពុជាចំណេញប្រាក់ ហើយក៏មិនចាំយកប្រាក់នោះទៅបង់ថ្លៃឲ្យវៀតណាមដែរ
The enthusiasm for the canal's construction stems from Cambodia's geographic reality. Cambodia has no major river connecting to its coast. For years.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to UUSF Forum. This is the first forum I can remember where we have more people on the Zoom call than we do have in the room. So that is interesting. I want to a little bit apologize to our speaker today that we don't have a bigger crowd, but I guess this is a kind of a low turnout weekend being in the middle between Christmas and New Year's. So I guess that explains that. I am Jeff Peckrell, and I am the committee lead for the forum and part of the Human Rights Working Group, along with Melvin, who's here today, and Dolores Perez-Halbran, who isn't here today. And we plan these meetings. And our speaker today, Gavrilah Wells, is someone who I meet by chance a lot in my neighborhood. We live in the same neighborhood of Noe Valley, so when I'm walking down 24th Street, I often see her talking to people. I think she's a combination of doing her well, just being social and also a little bit of activism. We'll learn all about her and her projects in just a minute or two here. Just in the way of announcements, I want to mention that, well, this wraps up the year. This is obviously the last forum for 2025. I can't believe the year's already over. We're going to start off 2026 with some good forums for you, though. On the 11th of January, we'll have Supervisor Stephen Sherrill. He represents this district of San Francisco. He's a city supervisor. And so please bring your questions for Stephen Sherrill. The following weekend, we'll have another city supervisor. We'll have Connie Chan, who you may know is running for Congress to replace Nancy Pelosi. So we can bring Connie Chan a whole different set of questions, because when you're in Congress, you know, you have influence on international policy, including things like human rights, right? We could be fair game to ask Connie Chan what she thinks about some of the issues we'll be talking about today. And on the 25th of January, we'll have a Unitarian book author. Her name is Frances Aubrey, and she has written a book called A Grandmother's Wisdom, and it talks about her healing journey from the fact that her mother took her own life when Frances was about 20. And she's got some, I think, very interesting things to share with us. So come for that, please, on the 25th of January. On the 18th in the afternoon, Melvin is planning something in this room after church. It will be a combination of honoring labor and MLK. That's MLK's birthday, right? So I believe he has Bill Shields, who we've had speak here a couple of times. He's a pretty famous labor organizer and activist, so that should be a great meeting on the 18th of January. Sorry. And finally, I want to mention someone important to us who died recently. That is Thomas Brown, and he was the sexton who I saw every Sunday setting up for him. He was the person who helped us prepare the food, set the room up. I didn't know how long Thomas had been a part of the church community here, over 30 years. So we're missing Thomas Brown, and yeah, really. Melvin told me there is a service for him this coming Saturday. I don't know the details about that. All right, so today we're doing something a little different. All of us probably have the privilege of having had a cozy, safe, and happy, you know, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, coming up on New Year's. But you know, there are a lot of people around the world who aren't privileged to enjoy those things. They're being persecuted, put in prison, even tortured unfairly, unjustly. Obviously, that's never fair. And I thought that we could end the year on a high note by giving back a little bit. Like, let's do something for people like that. Let's take time away from our pleasures and fun stuff and do something like that. So I'll introduce Gavrilah Wells here in just a moment to come up and tell us about her work with Amnesty International, which has an annual event called Right for Rights. So with no further ado, I'll bring Gavrilah to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm really short, so yep. Wow, such an amazing thing to be here, because my very first Amnesty meeting for Local Group 30 there's a table back there with 3 local Group 30 members, was here at the center. So we used to meet here when we met in person. Now we meet in Zoom. We are the San Francisco chapter, local Group 30. So it's pretty feeling like home. So my name is Gavrilah. Everybody please just call me G. It's a lot easier. I think I know everybody's name here, not on the Zoom, except for yours in the beautiful pink pussy hat. Karen, great. I like to know everybody. You're kind of far away, but you're close at the same time. So I am the de facto coordinator of our local chapter. Barbara, back at that table, made me into the coordinator many years ago, and I can't seem to shake the position. I am also a state death penalty abolition coordinator for Amnesty International for the state of California. We do have the largest death row in the country, and we are, as Bob Bacon had talked about in one of the forums, we are calling on Newsom to commute everybody on death row before he leaves office. It is a Clemency California campaign. That's my plug for death penalty. Other than that, I am going to focus on our Right for Rights campaign. I've already heard from many of you. You are familiar with Amnesty. I'm going to do a quick overview if folks aren't familiar, but I think by the show in the room, we have almost more Amnesty than Unitarians here. Both of these positions are volunteer positions, and as Jeff said, I do live in Noe Valley, and I corner almost everybody, particularly if you have a dog, in conversations around human rights and the death penalty, but I do come with buttons and stickers and smiles. So thanks, Jeff, for the warm introduction. My Amnesty origin story was, my mom was an Amnesty member. And when I was a kid, they would have meetings in our living room, and she would bring blank cards into my classroom at school when I was in the 3rd grade. And she would have all the students write and draw solidarity cards for their prisoners of conscience that her group was working on. One was in a work camp in Siberia. He was a painter, and he was incarcerated for his paintings that he painted, and another was in Chile, during Pinochet's Chile. Both were being tortured and abused, and I couldn't get it in my head as a kid other than I can draw pictures. And so my classmates did it, and that was a beautiful introduction as a kid to Amnesty International, and to know that you can do something as simple as writing a note of care and love and drawing a picture, and it just might reach that person and touch them. And years later, Alan, back in the back there, was in my mom's Amnesty group, and they had the amazing savvy and wit to help Boris, I can't say his last name, but one of the people that I had sent, the painter, who was in Siberia work camp, they got him out, and he came to my house. And I was a teenager at that point, and very cynical and sarcastic, and I knew everything, and it blew my mind. And so when my mom passed away in 2015, I decided to join a local chapter, which is how I wound up here at the Unitarian Center with some of the lovely people at that back table. So can you do the next slide? Thank you. So I know already that Suzanne and Janet, I'm guessing Karen, I know Jeff does, and most of the people at that back table do know about Amnesty International already. Many of you are donors and wonderful activists yourselves. We are the largest global grassroots human rights organization in the world. We have, you can see by the bullet points, I don't need to recite them, but we do believe that by taking everyday actions, we can fight injustice everywhere. We are nonpartisan. We never, ever ask for regime change. We never are party-oriented. We are solely about human rights and fighting injustices with the mighty skill of the pen, the protest, the photograph, and our everyday activism. There is an origin story, like my origin story with Amnesty. Amnesty International has an origin story. A lawyer in the UK, Peter Benenson, learned about two young men in Portugal during a fascist period of time in the 60s, 1961, and they had apparently raised a glass to freedom in a bar, and they were imprisoned. And so he had in his mind, Peter Benenson, he wrote an article in the, I believe it was The Independent in London, and he called for everyone to write letters of indignation and say, this is crazy. How can you be incarcerating someone for a toast to freedom? And it rallied enormous letters, and I don't know, I'm going to say the men were released, just for the sake of today. I don't know the end product, but as our origin story goes, they were released. So in that vein, he also coined the phrase, better to light a candle than curse the darkness. For people here, I'm just going to show. Wearing my t-shirt. And Jeff, if you could do slide 2. So Amnesty USA is our United States branch. We have 1 million members or more. Our members, everything at Amnesty is centered in London and in the UK because that's where it started. So although we're in 150 countries globally, our base is in England, and it's called the International Secretariat. And so there is a whole process and way that things are decided, but I won't go on about that. That could be another discussion another time, probably by someone else. So we have more than 1 million members. I think everybody here is a member in this room. You are clicking on petitions. Thank you. Some of you are donating. Apologies for all the requests for donations that Amnesty International gives out. I know all orgs are struggling, but most of our donations do come from individuals and everyday people like us. There are over 600 student groups, which is amazing. They're in high schools and colleges across the country. And then less amazing, but still amazing, we have 70 groups, local groups, like Group 30 in San Francisco. And there are 14 of those groups in California, so California is representing. We would love to see you at any of our local Zoom meetings. We don't meet at the Unitarian anymore. And there are plenty of actions to come and go. If you don't have funds to donate, no problem. We love the people power. We love the engagement and the unity and the community. So I am a member leader. I am the coordinator. If anybody wants that position, talk to me after. And I'm also, again, the state death penalty abolition coordinator. So these are member leaders. Then there's donor members. So that's kind of the structure of how AIUSA works. And then members really shape the work that we do. Our activists defend human rights through tactical campaigns, policy advocacy, and policy is a thing at Amnesty. It can really, because we are global and we vet all the cases through and through, our researchers are very stringent, it can piss off a lot of activists. Why can't we say this? Why can't we say that? Why can't I have a sign in this picture? So, but that's because we are global and we are trusted. And it's just part of it's what you get. You can wear different hats for different modes of activism. So this is my Amnesty hat today. I'm going to try to remember to speak only on behalf of Amnesty. Our governance, membership is really the bedrock of Amnesty, of all Amnesty, but Amnesty USA. People, all donors can be part of, can decide on the board members. Hopefully you vote on the board members. Can come to our general meetings. We have an annual general meeting that is in a different location every year. Every other year we're in Washington, D.C. It is very inspiring and activating to be, especially with all the young folks. But we also have a regional conference. We just had a regional conference in Berkeley that included all of the Western states. And then, like I said, most of our funding comes from individual donors. We highlight campaigns such as the right to protest, closing Guantanamo, ending the death penalty, dismantling the mass deportation machine, protecting the protest in Sudan, Ukraine, the US now, big time, and others. And stop the crackdown. There's a postcard at the back table if you just want to sign and put a stamp on it. We can send those, but that postcard is not part of the Right for Rights campaign. And then also, of course, the Israel and occupied territories. We have a toolkit and how to continue to stop the genocide in Palestine and continue the call for ceasefire, because it appears that people are still being killed on a daily basis, children and everyday people like us. So if you go to Amnesty's website, you can see how to take action for those campaigns, and I'll stop there. So let's go to the next slide. So what is Right for Rights? Who here doesn't know what Right for Rights is? Jeff. Karen, do you know? Oh, cool. Great. Okay. Doug? Nope. Okay, cool. And I think Suzanne knows and Janet knows-ish. And the other three are Amnesty folks. I don't know about the people on Zoom. So Right for Rights is the world's largest letter writing campaign. I'm going to quickly say their origin story. Apparently it started in Poland in 2001, where a group of really intense activists decided to do an intense all-night letter writing campaign for the cases they were working on. They pulled an all-nighter, they reached out, of course they were students, the young folks, and they got others to do this as well, and then it kind of, back then in 2001, I don't think things were exactly going viral, but it spread. And it became a pattern, and Amnesty loved it, and now it is a full-fledged campaign around the world. And let's see. Yeah, so back in 2001, 2,326 letters were written, and in 2023, over 5.8 million actions, including letters, emails, tweets, petition signatures, et cetera, were recorded worldwide. So from just under 3,000 to almost 6 million, that is tremendous, and it works. So if you can go to the next slide. Are folks down for a video, just to have an overview? Is Jonathan still here? No, I think we need Jonathan. Well, if you want to go to the slide that's after that, and then does Jonathan come back? Perfect. Okay. Well, Melvin knows, and Jeff knows, and everybody at the back table knows that, yeah, so let's just go to the next slide. Maybe the PDF. Oh yeah, perfect. That's good. So 2 people that got released. I'm going to take a little credit for Leonard from Right for Rights. He was a Right for Rights case twice, 2 different years. I will tell you, he is the reason, and my mom's death, that I joined a local chapter, because he was part of the Right for Rights in 2016. Albert Woodfox was released he was the Right for Rights in 2015. He was part of the Angola 3. He was in solitary confinement for 44 years. How that could be is mind-boggling, but he was a Right for Rights case, and he was released. I had the privilege of meeting him before he died prematurely of COVID for no reason at all, but at least he had 6 years outside of freedom, and he was a beautiful, beautiful human being who believed in humanity and love. And I found him incredibly inspiring. Anyway, Leonard Peltier was one of our Group 30 cases. We worked tirelessly for his release. He is not released, but he's under home confinement on the Turtle Mountain Reservation. He gets to go outside. He can go in a 100-mile radius. He can see his family. He can travel for religious reasons, spiritual reasons, and medical reasons. He was going to come for Alcatraz for the sunrise ceremony on Day of Mourning, otherwise called as Thanksgiving, but he did not get clearance. So unfortunately, he has not come out here yet. He is in very poor health. It very much impacted him, almost 50 years incarcerated, and he has always maintained his innocence for which he was incarcerated for. So Amnesty championed his case for years and years and years. He was why I joined a local group, and Alan at that back table too, I will say. My mom, Alan, and Leonard. So I don't know if we can play the video.
Cuando estuve encarcelado injustamente, sus cartas me dieron muchas esperanzas. Y ustedes exigieron al gobierno de Guatemala que me liberaran. Y miren, aquí estoy. Soy Bernardo Calchol, orgullosamente y con mucha dignidad pertenezco al pueblo maya Erchi. Este río sagrado es nuestra vida. Nosotros comemos de él, bebemos de él, y todos los seres vivos viven de él. Un día despertamos, estaban empezando a construir varias centrales hidroeléctricas. Teníamos que hacer algo. Mi pueblo me eligió para denunciar lo que estaba pasando. Yo sabía que esto podía tener consecuencias. Me consideraron un revoltoso y las autoridades intentaron silenciarme. Me acusaron de retener y de robarles a personas o empleados de la represa. Sin ninguna prueba, me encarcelaron durante 7 años. Mientras yo estaba en prisión, me enteré que muchas personas en todo el mundo escribían cartas al gobierno de Guatemala para exigir mi libertad. Bernardo, te traemos 30,000 cartas de solidaridad de activistas y miembros de Amnistía Internacional de todo el mundo. Muchas cartas. Pienso que es muy injusto que usted fue encarcelado simplemente porque defendió el río sagrado. A mi parecer, todo el mundo debe de tener derecho a la libertad de expresión y a la conservación de su cultura. Espero que pueda ser liberado pronto y reunirse con su familia. Querido Bernardo, estoy contigo. Bernardo, usted tiene nuestra solidaridad. La justicia vencerá. Cada una de las frases van a estar en el corazón mío. Estas cartas nunca van a desaparecer. Esto inspira más también a seguir denunciando, seguir luchando, seguir pronunciándome para todo el mundo.
Nos hacen sentir que estamos muy acompañadas
No estamos solos, no estamos solas. Sus acciones me dieron esperanzas. Ahora estoy libre. Escribe una carta, cambia una vida. Únete a Escribe por los Derechos.
Yeah. I would have embedded in the PDF. Sorry. Yeah. It's okay. Okay. So let's go to the 2 more slides after, or 3, I think. Yep, there you go. Okay, so Right for Rights, how it works. Amnesty identifies cases through researchers, and I believe they might vote on the cases. This year, we have 9 cases, 9 featured cases. So the next step would be, and of course, it goes without saying, and it's on the slide, these are prisoners of conscience, human rights defenders, survivors of torture and solitary confinement, which is torture, and communities at risk, anywhere where global activism can actually make a huge difference. People like us organize a letter writing event, or multiple, or we join events, or we write from the comfort of our homes. Any old way will do it. And then there's also online petitions, so everybody on Zoom can sign all of the online petitions, and there's a QR code here that people can sign on. And then all over the world, all of our actions are sent to the decision makers. Those happen in tandem over a period of a few months. And our solidarity cards, as you saw, how moving it is when thousands of cards from strangers reach your home or your prison cell in many cases, and how much hope it can give a person. And also, in some cases, the person may have been killed. We have 2 cases where people have died, so we're writing to their family members a letter of love or a card of love, solidarity, and also just to remember and acknowledge their family member and what they have done and that they have existed. So change happens. As you know, Albert, Leonard, and many others have been released. And so I do want to encourage the people on the Zoom to please think about taking part, joining an event. You can just do it from home. Feel free to hit me up, and I can send you the links. A Google Doc that Barbara kindly formulated all of the letters. So you can just print, sign, and send. Ideally, will you change the slide? Ideally, we want to hand write the letters. Today, here, we're not going to have enough time to do that. I have printed the letters to decision makers, but I would love it if all of us could please write at least 1 or 2 or 3 solidarity cards to the impacted people. All the cases are on that back table. I also have the cases here on a stanchion. I'm going to quickly run through them. We have Leica Cordia. I think some of you might know about her. Her case has been featured on Democracy Now! She's a protester, she's a human rights advocate, and she's Palestinian. Over 175 of her family members have been killed. 175 family members have been killed, and she was doing simple, everyday protesting. And when she went to her court hearing, they detained her, and now she is in a detention center in Texas. She loves getting the solidarity cards, and she will write back. So if you choose to write to her, please be sure to put your address, your name and address on the envelope. and maybe put it in the card. And she would like, I mean, I don't know if the thousands and thousands might delay the process or encumber her, but if you write a compelling solidarity card, you might hear back from her if you're open to that. Then we have Demisoa, who is from Madagascar. A lot of the cases this year are around climate justice. So they're people who are impacted in one way or another around the world by how we are destroying the planet. So Demisoa has been, he's in Madagascar, and he's been displaced by excruciating droughts. So his family and his community members are starving. And when you read more about his case, you will see his situation in more detail. There's also a bunch of videos, 1.5-minute videos for each of the cases that will ground you in who they are. The videos feature either the person themselves or their family members, loved ones. Then we have Saiza. He is from Myanmar, and he is a photojournalist, and he was simply covering a cyclone, and they called him a terrorist, like all the other journalists that he was working with, and they all fled. They left Myanmar, and they left. He stayed, and he goes house to house to house to house, and kind of is running around, taking photographs, doing his job, and unfortunately, he was incarcerated. He has been tortured. He has been suffering horrible, horrible consequences for taking photographs of a cyclone. Fathom that. So then we have Juan Lopez. He's no longer with us. He was a defender of rivers and of stopping a mine from being built in Honduras. And he was murdered for his activism, his bravery, his words. So you would write to his family members. Then we have Eleanor. She's from Norway. She is Sami. She is from a group of reindeer herders, and she is asking the Norwegian government to not put up wind turbines on the herding ground. The Sami people rely on reindeer herding and a landscape that's been used for centuries. This is a practice in a people indigenous to Norway and other Scandinavian countries. And so our letters are going to Norway, and our cards are going to her. Then we have Guerreras por la Amazonia from Ecuador. These young, brave climate justice activists are fighting against flares, and they are protecting the Amazon. I highly recommend you seeing their video. They are so righteous and brave and beautiful young people fighting for climate justice in the Amazon. They are in Ecuador. Then we have a really, really impossibly sad story that is impossible to imagine on multiple levels. Unicebo was only 3 years old. He was at his daycare in South Africa, and he was somehow allowed into a pit toilet where he fell and died, drowned in the pit toilet. So we will be writing to his mom and his family. He was only 3 years old, and we're asking South Africa to stop pit toilets because it is completely based on class and financial on equity. So stop pit toilets. Give everybody toilets. Then we have Sonia Damani. She is from Tunisia. She is a beautiful, eloquent, amazing journalist who has been very outspoken about refugee rights, about freedom of expression, you name it. She said it, but her words are very, very eloquent. And she's a journalist, so she's a wordsmith, careful with her words, and she has been imprisoned because of her words. She is out momentarily. She could be there's multiple charges against her, so she could, like many people, they can be re-detained. So she's out for a minute. She might be redetained, so we're keeping her case active. And then last and not least, we have Mother Nature Cambodia, a group of climate justice activists in Cambodia. And they have been incredibly brave and just asking to save the planet, basically. I think 4 or 5 of them have been incarcerated, and they are locked up in really brutal conditions in Cambodia, and one of them is out, and so she's the one featured in the video if you do watch the videos. So next slide. We can't play the videos. There are QR codes and links to all the videos. I highly recommend watching all the videos. They're only 1.5 minutes, and it really grounds the cases for you to consider writing. Next slide. So, folks online, you can sign up at write.amnestyusa.org, or you can just do a Google search, Write for Rights, Amnesty USA. Be sure to put the USA, and you will find all the materials you need. There's the videos, there's the explanation of this year's cases with all the addresses. There's even address labels and template letters. I would highly recommend maybe writing to me, because some of the addresses are a little wonky. So if you want corrected address templates, feel free to write to me. And Barbara has kindly done, Barbara in the back has kindly done template letters from our Google Drive, so I'm happy to send those to you as well. And so write your letters and send them by January 31st. We need to record the letters because these are all calculated, and it's important that Amnesty knows how many people have written the letters and to whom. So today when we write a few letters, I will mail them. We've provided definitely enough stamps. I thought there might be a few more people, but this is beautiful, just to have anybody. And for the folks online, if you want to write some letters, if you can go to the next slide. A little bit reiterative of everything I've said already. That QR code will take you to a way to do all the online petitions. If you're like, I don't really feel like downloading letters and writing letters and postcards, you can actually sign a petition online and it goes to each of the cases. So at least that's been done. There are some courses you can take if you want to do human rights courses. You can come and join our local chapter. You can write to me anytime. I'm hyper responsive. I'm a phone addict, which I'm not proud of, and so I will respond. If I don't respond, write again. Actually, I have some cards and you can text me. That's a better way of reaching me. Now we're going to get on to, let's change one more slide. Yes. Does anybody have any questions? And I'd love us to kick into action when we can. And that is you'll see Alan, you'll see some stars here, Alan, Barbara, and Sasha in the letter in the back at one of Barbara's solidarity card writing parties at her house. She cooks up a feast and no one leaves disappointed or without having written all the cards. So, does anybody have any questions? Suzanne? Oh, let's hear it. How do we know when letters have reached people in prison? It's an important question. Yeah, am I doing this for no reason? I will tell you this, Leonard had very specific requirements and nobody ever followed them. So I know a lot of the letters never reached Leonard Peltier because he was at a Bureau of Prisons prison, and you had to only write black ink, white paper. His eyesight was very poor, and so you had to write it really big. And I would get people going, I don't know why this card was returned to me. Like, because you can't write cards. So I know in his case he didn't get a lot of them, but in many cases they do get them. We have heard from people, for instance, in Tibet, and these are not right for rights cases, but people, China, Tibetan people who were imprisoned in China who said they were told by the guards that they had all these letters, even if they might not have received them. The prison noted that they were getting all these letters, and the person who was detained believed that they were treated better because all this attention was on them. So even if our physical letter or card doesn't reach them, we have very accurate information that many of them are reaching them. And so in some of the solidarity cards, I have an envelope with the address on it, and we're just going to put all of the cards together because they go to an Amnesty office. So for Myanmar, for Norway, for a few of them, they go to an Amnesty office in that country. So we know that they're being brought physically. Some of the people are not in prison. So for instance, the family members of the people who died, we know they're getting their cards and their letters, and also they might have the inopportune moment of somebody filming the reception of these things. So we see in that case, some of the videos you didn't see, there's some archival footage of people who have received letters and cards. Sometimes people were protesting and they're not in prison, they're at threat of being imprisoned, and they get their letters and cards. It's very moving to receive all of these words of kindness and solidarity from folks. So I think in a very few cases, maybe some folks aren't getting them, but in general, we know because Amnesty tells us so. And or the person might write back to you. And so, yeah. So how do we have the resolve and the faith that letters are reaching the decision makers, especially in this time of authoritarian practices, fascism throughout the world? And in the case of Zai, we're sending it to the military junta, but care of Washington, D.C. So a lot of what Amnesty does, I'm just going to say it, and maybe as letters are spread out and only a few people are getting a few letters, it's different. When you're sending thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of letters around the world, the decision makers have to note them. They have to be noted. And so I think that naming and shaming an injustice can go a long way. I'm not going to be naive and say it works always, but we have seen it work. And so it might be in these instances that just some of the cases are altered, but that's better than none. And I think that by having the conviction that our words matter and that we're speaking out on behalf of this injustice, even if it seems that that we're wasting paper and we're wasting time and letter writing, I personally have seen, like I said, people be released. I have friends who have been released from this letter writing effort. So that's the best answer I can give you. I'm not an Amnesty staff person. I'm not an Amnesty researcher. I will say that in the case of Leonard Peltier, who wasn't getting a good portion of his letters, he did get some from me because I heard back. So I will say I think in these times, it is very easy to feel defeated, but look at the world over. Change can happen, and we are the type of people that make it happen, even in small groups like this. So I'm sure that feels like a really beige response, like mediocre, but let me get back with you on that. If I have some more concrete answers, I have seen the finished product, and our group knows from Tibetan folks that we had worked on that they know that hundreds of letters were coming in on their behalf and that they were treated better. So I'm going to just speak in circles. I don't have a solid answer for you. I just have faith. Yeah, and that's why I do this. And yeah. So any other questions? And should we get started on writing a few letters? Okay. What time is it? After 10? Oh, that's not very long. Okay. Well, I'm going to get off the microphone. Thanks, folks at home. Please write some letters. Please hit me up if you have any questions. And a peaceful and productive new year.